Hey, Talo Flava. Leotawa Dr. John Peterson here. TE2 Edge Sports Cards coming at you live and direct from Minneapolis, Minnesota, back at the card table. And we have got a collection update today. I acquired this collection in the last, probably 2 weeks, 10 days. It showed up yesterday via USPS. I've had a lot of great luck with USPS, knock on wood. They've been great to me over the years, both sending and receiving. And FedEx has too. UPS has been a little bit more iffy, to be honest with you folks. But yeah, I have been negotiating this for the last couple weeks, and finally got the cards in yesterday. Coincidentally, they arrived at about the same time as the PSA order. First part of the South Dakota collection arrived yesterday, so I did the PSA grade reveal for that first, and thought I would do this second. So check it out.
TE2 Edge Sports Cards. Get at it.
All right. Let me give a little background context to this. So, obviously, for those of you that follow the basketball sports cards market, and hobby, you know that, Jordan, Kobe, and Steph have been red hot for the last 6 months. I would say even going back to the beginning of this calendar year, so 8, 9 months. Jordan's been on a steady heater since probably May or June of 2024. And I know that because I track his stuff pretty much on a daily and weekly basis. Kobe started a little bit later. Excuse me. I had to adjust that headphone there. Steph has been doing really great. I think he's outperformed both Jordan and Kobe, although it's pretty close. It's not too far of a distance or a delta between what Steph has done percentage-wise over the last 6 months. I think Steph's around 60% up. LeBron has been a slightly different story in that it's only been recently that his cards have been increasing and going up transactions-wise, but also amount of the transactions. So LeBron is still, in my opinion, a pretty good buy. Kobe, Jordan, Steph, they're super hot. So I guess it's really a matter of perspective if you want to get in. Some people would say now's the time to sell Jordan and Kobe. Frankly, I'm kind of on the fence with that. As I've said before, I really do follow the cards. Just as some folks say, follow the data. To me, cards are in many ways data. And, I'm judicious about what I pick up. But if I see an opportunity, which I found this Michigan collection to be a pretty good opportunity, I'll get in. We've got the Minnesota Sports Card Show, as I've mentioned in other episodes on the channel, coming up in about a week. So today's Wednesday, and I think the show starts on Thursday. So I plan to get these cards all into the mix at the Minnesota Card Show, and then set up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's really hard to time the market. In fact, I would say it's next to impossible. I don't know that anyone can do that. I mean, maybe if there's some Warren Buffett-like genius in our midst and within the hobby, it's possible, but it ain't me. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not a genius. I know what I know, and what I don't know, I don't speak upon. I think that's probably one of the most important things, right, in terms of the hobby, is that stick to what you know, and what you don't know, pick up in little pieces and try to mitigate the huge losses. I've had one huge loss. That was the first collection I bought back in 2021. It was November 2021. Massive loss. And, thankfully I was able to, write the loss off. which was a blessing. But yeah, it was significant. So, and it involved some 1986 McDonald's football cards. If you're familiar with those, I look back at that time and I just shake my head. But you're going to get some wins too, and it's like kind of one of those sayings: is no risk it, no biscuit. If you're not willing to take some risks, it's going to be hard to get some wins, and you got to spend some money to make some money. So for me, I think Jordan and Kobe are. I'm still a buy on Jordan and Kobe. Most of their stuff is selling at that 85 to 90% level. So let's talk a little bit about the margins on that. You've really got to be selling at minimum 95 to 100% of comps or value. If you're picking up at 85 to 90%, especially if you're picking up at 90%. If you're not familiar with the Card Boss, his channel is, oh man, I can't remember, something investor, sports card investor. No, that's not sports card investor. That's Jeff Wilson. Just Google the Card Boss or look for the Card Boss. He is located in Asia. I think is he in the Philippines, Thailand? I can't remember. One of those places over in the Southeast Asian part of the world. He really says you need to be operating minimum at 7%. Now, a lot of what he does is he buys cards off of auctions, big cards, 10, 15, 25, 40, $50,000 cards. I don't know if he goes much above 50, but he talks about, trying to be within that 7 to 12% range. I think I've mentioned this in other episodes. I like to be, 20% or higher. I mean, if you can get 20%, you're doing better than the stock market most years, and you're competing with what you get on an ROI year over year on real estate. I think real estate's right around that 15 to 20% mark. So I feel like as an alternative asset class, if you can start to push margins and profitization up around that 20% or higher mark, you're doing really, really well. Obviously, if you're at 50 or 100 or 3 times, you're just doing phenomenally well. A lot of it starts on the buy side, though, folks. It is tough to sell if you don't buy in at the right level and you buy the right cards. You've got to buy the right cards. You've got to buy cards. If you're looking to move stuff, if it's, turn and burn type stuff, you got to get the right stuff. Turn and burn, I think, with the ultra modern is really based on timing and less based on the player. When you're talking about 90s basketball cards, at least in this case, and you're talking about Kobe, Jordan, Allen Iverson, Garnett, Shaq, all those guys, it's partly about timing, but it's more about the subset, the parallel, the condition of the card, how desirable or iconic is the card. Is it a well-known subset? Is it a well-known set? Is it a well-known parallel within a set? So those are some factors to consider. By no means am I an expert in 90s basketball cards, although I've learned a lot in the last few years. I didn't open up and rip that product in the 90s because I was in college and spending money on other things and didn't have a lot of disposable income to begin with. Although we did have a pretty nice party house called the Roasted Bean back in the day, and we used to have really huge parties on Fridays and Saturday nights, and sometimes we'd clear $700-800 to $1,000 in cash, which I thought was pretty good. I mean, you get $250. That covers your rent. I think my rent at that time was $100 a month, and the house was from like the 1870s, so it was one of the oldest houses in Pierce County. I think it was the oldest house in Pierce County, but man, in the 2 years that I lived there, we had a blast. And I was not opening up 90s basketball, although I should have been. Especially in 1997 when Metal Universe came out and the PMGs were available. Had I known, I would have bought a lot of those cards and spent more of the money that I had on that rather than on other things, if you know what I mean, for those of you that lived in the 90s. So that being said, let's take a look at this collection. I picked it up from a person who I have bought from before. If you're familiar with the 98, no, not 98, 95 meltdown that I have of Jordan, I picked this up last holidays, Christmas from him, along with a few other cards. He is one of the best at sourcing Jordan and Kobe cards. There's a couple guys in the Facebook marketplace circuit. They're mostly in that Michigan, Illinois, sometimes Indiana, mostly Michigan and Illinois area, where they are very, very adept at picking up Jordan collections and Kobe collections, and sometimes LeBron too. Cleveland obviously is within that kind of trade horizon or buy horizon or sell horizon of Lake Michigan. So I talked with this guy. I picked up a small lot that I did a video on last week. That was the Drewski lot. And this collection is from the same person. I don't know if it's a collection lot. I guess it kind of depends. I don't think it was his personal collection, although I think he had some personal cards, some PC cards, and what I picked up. But overall, I just wanted to share that I have worked with this person before. Before I show the cards, I just want to throw out a couple cautionary notes about buying off of Facebook Marketplace. You know, it's risky, right? It's risky. Again, no risk it, no biscuit. And if you develop a relationship with someone, the chances that you get burned are obviously significantly less. I have gotten burned a couple times, not big burns, but little tiny burns, minor burns from Facebook Marketplace. But the victories and the wins and the good relations that I've had on Facebook Marketplace have far exceeded the negative interactions that I've had. I bought a lot for about $900 at the beginning of the year, and I think I pulled up maybe one gradable Jordan, and that was more on me than it was on anyone else, on the seller, because I didn't do my due diligence to look at the condition of the cards closely enough and ask for photographs and all that sort of thing. Obviously, if you're dealing with raw cards, that's different than if you're working with graded cards. And all these cards in this collection, lot acquisition, are graded cards. Another thing about payments, I want to just share this. Be aware about PayPal, the difference between goods and services and family and friends. I think PayPal says that if you go family and friends, the chances that you get the money back are far slimmer than if you go goods and services. I think there are some protections with PayPal with goods and services. Another piece that I'll mention about the 2.99% fee for buying on PayPal, using PayPal to buy. That fee, at least in my estimation, and again, I'm not a CPA, so I'm not giving tax advice here, so don't take it that way. But I believe those fees you can write off. So whether it's fees associated with APR on your sports card, credit card, or fees associated with PayPal, you can deduct those fees because they are technically a cost of goods sold. Again, I'm not a CPA, but that's what I do, and it's worked out pretty well. So that's a long explanation. Well, not a long explanation, but a longish explanation about some of the context related to this pickup. I do plan to move these cards, but I'm not in a hurry to move them. Like I said, I picked them up at 90%, so I'm going to have to be very careful about how I sell some of these pieces. Some of them I'm going to hang on to and hopefully see them appreciate. I like the chances of them going up in value over the next year. I do think there will be a small leveling out that's going to begin right around middle of October. But that being said, and I think that's an annual thing, right? That small kind of dip. If you look back across the last 4 Novembers, there's typically a low point in the middle of November, where cards sell for least amount of volume and sales numbers across each of those 4 years. So what's that mean about November? November could be a really good month, middle of November, Thanksgiving to the end of the year, a good time to buy. So I would like to sell some of these cards to see if I can do some additional buying in those months, or that month of mid-November to mid-December. That being said, I think there is a factor that I've mentioned in prior video that Jordan is coming back as a special contributor to NBC. NBC is going to be covering the NBA. I think they're doing a feature game of the week on Mondays, maybe Monday nights. And then I'm sure they'll be covering stuff on the weekends. I think having Jordan back is going to be very, very good for his cards. I think it's going to be good for his brand. What I've noticed is that, Kobe kind of follows Jordan and LeBron kind of follows Jordan and Kobe. Now that can change, obviously, because LeBron's still in the league and the Lakers could, conceivably win the finals, win the championship. And if that happens, you're going to see LeBron's cards absolutely skyrocket. If LA gets some hype and buzz behind him and Luka this year, watch LeBron's cards go through the roof. I'm telling you right now, LeBron is still a buy. It's still buyable to get in. It's becoming less so over the last month, but if you're interested in speculating a little bit on the Los Angeles Lakers, I think LeBron and Luka are good opportunities. Seasonal, situational opportunities. Obviously, Jordan's not playing anymore, but if he is contributing to the NBA, NBC telecasts, expect him to be very visible and expect people to. I'm just going to tell folks right now, Jordan is an international brand, and I think most folks that follow Jordan in the NBA know this. Not only is he an international brand, he is the first sports international brand. I mean, who came before Jordan in terms of just international global brand recognition? I put him up there with Michael Jackson, Bob Marley. Yeah. I think Jordan is up there with those folks in terms of just being a cultural icon. There are whole entire teams that have his logo, his brand, his Nike brand, the version of his Nike brand, whatever it's called, Jump, Air Jordan, one of the two or both, as their jerseys. So you can't underestimate the power of Jordan. I really have believed that. I've believed that since the beginning when he was a rookie in '84. I had the North Carolina National Championship Sports Illustrated cover on my wall right next to where I slept. So I've been following Jordan for a minute, and I think he's just an absolute phenomenon. So the fact that he's coming back to basketball this fall could signal an increased uptick in the value of his cards. All right, I'm going on and on, but you know what? I've watched a lot of YouTube content, and it's good to change things up. Some people really dig the longer analysis and the contextual, the provision of contextual factors as it relates to collection and lot pickups. So let's get to the cards. Let's get to the good stuff here. Stop talking away, and hopefully you enjoy this. And give me some feedback as to what you think about this collection. I'm pretty excited about the pickup, and I'm not going to go into all the financials with it right now. It's too early to do that. But I will say, as I said before, that I picked these cards up at 90%, and that's pretty high for me. Typically, I'm at that 80%. My roof ceiling, goes to usually 85% on collections. Honestly, I like to buy at 70%, 75%. I like to stay away from the 80s if I can, but it's getting exceedingly more difficult to source graded cards for less than 85%, and justifiably so, especially if you're talking about Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. The RK pickup that I did, he was at 90% in his Jordans, and I said, you know what? You're smart. That's a good move. I'll pass on the Jordans, but I'm a buy on the Kobe's and the LeBrons. I think we were right around 85%. I appreciated that. The one thing I will say is that the percentage is related to your capacity to sell the cards. Cards are only worth what somebody's willing to pay you for them. And I think people sometimes underestimate how much work goes into both buying and selling. The selling piece is not easy. You got to put a lot of time in to build up followers on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on eBay. Unless you're just sending them off to Fanatics Live to auction, which is definitely a good way to go, or you're sending them to ComC, raw stuff to have that, raw or graded stuff to have that sold as well. So, yeah, the percentages are connected to your capacity and the time you have to sell the cards. All right, first card. We have got, this is in an SGC slab, which is atypical for me. This is the 98 Stardate. A Kobe here. EX 2001. I think it's 98, 97, 98. I've never owned this card before. I haven't moved this card. Next card, I've had this a couple times. Excuse me. 96 Flair Showcase. This is the class of 96. This is just I think this is an iconic card, iconic image. I'd love to get this in a PSA 10. This is in a near mint 7. Kind of doing this as a reveal, but adds a little suspense. This is a die cut card. This is the 97 SPX Hollow View Heroes. This is also in a 7. Not a huge card, but obviously you get this in a 9 or a 10. You're talking pretty good money. I'm guessing it's probably a couple $1,000 in a PSA 10. This card is very interesting. I would love to hear your thoughts as a audience member on like the comped value of this card. This is called Double Feature. It's the double refractor. So it says refractor. I think some of them have refractor and non-refractor, where Kobe might be in a non-refractor and Shaq is. And so this one is both refractor it's a refractor on both sides. Kobe and Shaq both have the refraction. It's in a PSA 7, so the grade isn't very high. I'm curious what the issue is with this card. Maybe it's a crack and resub. I don't know. I'm going to have to take a close look at this. I mean, it's just a sweet card. So double feature, 99 finest, and nice card there. Be curious to see what that value is. I had a hard time finding a comp on that. This is a pretty well-known Jordan card. This is an Upper Deck. It's the Smooth Grooves from 96. This doesn't really remind me of a typical Upper Deck card. You can see the grooves there. It's pretty cool. That's in an 8. Here's one I've never owned before. It is the 97 Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor, otherwise known as Techniques. Excuse you, Charlie. My dog just sneezed. This is in a PSA 8. Love these atomic refractors. If you haven't had a chance to see Cajun Cardboard's episode on all of the Jordan refractors, it's really a fun one. Bryant from Cajun Cardboard goes through all of the different atomics for Jordan. So this would be, this is the second atomic of Jordan that I've got. I've got another acetate, I think in Bowman's Best Shots atomic refractor that I picked up off of eBay about a month and a half ago. Another Upper Deck card. This is the 96 SP Hollow Views. This is in a higher grade, so it's a 9. You can see Jordan down in the bottom right-hand corner. It looks like his Turns from either side. It's a nice card. We have got the 98 Topps Chrome Preview, also in a 9. I think if this were graded today, it would probably be an 8. But looking pretty good with that one. Not the most dynamic photograph of Jordan, but still a nice card. This is Upper Deck. This is from the Victory, Ultimate Victory set. Don't know much about this card. I mean, it's cool. Kind of got the wave feature going there. It's in a 9. I'm wondering if this is numbered. I don't see any numbering on it. Oh, yeah, it's numbered to 100. So this is 25 of 100. So this is a relatively rare card. There weren't a whole lot of numbered cards back in the day. Obviously, there were a few. The PMGs were numbered, for example. Here's another Ultimate Victory. Greatest Hits. This is numbered as well to 100. You can see there. It's the... It looks like this card was recently graded. Both of these cards were recently graded, because if you look, no, this one is in an older slab because it's got the 4 digits, or 8 digits, excuse me. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this one's got 9. So this was recently graded. I don't wonder if Drewski graded this. Ultra Kobe, had this card before. That's in a 9. Not a huge card there. This is the Kobe Chrome. Excuse me. 96 Topps. That's a rookie card. And a PSA 9. This is a fun and popular card. Popular insert. I think this is an insert. I always get not confused, but have a hard time discerning between insert versus parallel. If somebody could explain that in the comments, that'd be wonderful. This is Rock Stars from 97 Topps. Nice die cut. Just very cool. Not the refractor. So this is the base, but in a 9. Next card is the Jam Masters from Upper Deck. Got a 10 on this one. This is from the UD3 set, or product, from 97. This is a fun one. I've never had this card. This is the Star Power Plus, which is Fleer. 97. Little Kobe action there. A PSA 9. This will be a highly desired card, I would think. You don't see a ton of these. It's not the Supreme. I think there's 3 levels. So there's the Star Power, there's the Plus, and then there's the Supreme. And so this is the mid-level, if I'm not mistaken. Don't know a whole lot about this card, but it's really cool. It's fun to have a card that you've never owned before. This is another Rock Stars. This one, however, is in a PSA 10. So, who's that in the background there? Corliss Williams. Is that Corliss Williamson? Walt Williams and Corliss Williamson. So Jordan dominating Sacramento. Jordan dominating like he usually did. All right, now we've got some BGS slabs. I don't typically do BGS. I got a few cards in BGS slabs, but I thought this card was cool. This is 06 Bowman Elevation Gold. I know very little to nothing about this set, but look at this. That is sweet. Look at how that refracts down there on the key, the lane. I do believe this is numbered. It is. It's numbered to 99. Get that in the light there a little bit more. A little shadow from my phone. Yeah, what a great card. Centering's a 10. Surface is an 8.5, so that's what brings it down to a 9. Yeah, great card. This one is probably, not must be, but is probably familiar to folks. It's the Championship Spirit. It's the Chrome. It's a quad 9.5. So it's a True Gem Mint. I think that's what it's called, True Gem Mint. It's got all four centering edges, corner surface are all 9.5. Yeah, not a super valuable card, but nice nonetheless. This is a card that has a high gem rate. It's called Anticipation. This is a 9. I think we're off 1/2 grade in terms of quad 9. That's a pretty cool card. Pretty well-known Jordan card. This is one I was not terribly familiar with. It's a hollow view, which I've heard of. But this is from the Premier Collection. 95-96 SP hollow views. So now we got 4 Jordans smiling and looking at us. This is a 9.5. 1/2 grade away from a quad 9.5. I do think there's a bit of a premium on the quad 9.5s, the True Gem Mint 9.5s. But again, I don't have a lot of BGS slabs. I'm not an expert in BGS. Please correct me if I'm saying anything wrong in the comments. This is a cool card, Upper Deck. It is a patch, winning materials. So I've had winning materials before, but never Jordan. That's freaking awesome. Is this game worn? You've received a game used warm up and shorts card from the Upper Deck Company. Authentic piece of warm up and authentic piece of shorts worn by Jordan in NBA games. First time I've ever owned anything like this, so super excited about this one. It's in a 9. Be interested to see. I don't recall what the value is on that one. I'm guessing it's decent. This is maybe one of the more recognizable cards in the hobby right now. This is the East-West. This is not the refractor. This looks like this is in an old BGS slab. I wonder what generation slab that is. Is it older than this one? I don't know. I'd have to look at the cert number. But, yeah, a lot of people, this card has skyrocketed in value. This is just a 9. It's not like it's the 9.5 or a pristine 10. But still a nice card, valuable card. It's a commodity card right now, I guess you could say. So this is Skybox. Never owned this card. You can see there's a little chipping on the back. Ooh, rough down here. No wonder it got an 8. This is the Z-Force, Skybox Z-Force Vortex. I've only seen this card on Cajun Cardboard's channel. I'm curious to see where this falls in the hierarchy. It's possible this is a Tier 2 Jordan. I'll have to take a look. But I think in a 10, this is a pretty valuable card. This is an 8. So I don't know. I want to say this is a 4-figure card in an 8, which is hard to believe, but I think it is. This is a familiar card to folks. This is the Meltdown from 95 Skybox Premium, Series 2 only. This is an 8.5. So I think this 8.5 is not nearly as nice as that PSA 8 that I have, but still, I think this looks pretty good. There's some stuff on the edge there and a little bit on the left edge, but the front of the card presents really nice. A little bit of chipping in the top there. So, yeah, I don't think this is quite at the level of the 8 that I've got, but still an 8.5. Great card. Got 2 9s for subgrade, centering and surface. That's one of my all-time favorite Jordans, along with Special Forces. I sold the Special Forces back in April. It was a PSA 9. Sold it for $950. It's a $3,000 card now. So, it's just a sigh. That's all I'll say about that. This is a sweet, sweet card. It's the 96 Flair Row Zero. I've always wanted this card. Just Kobe looks just so young, and I don't want to say innocent, but he looks so young in this photograph. But this is a Row Zero, like I said, 96 Flair Showcase. It is a PSA 9. And with the exception of the edges, yeah, I mean, edges 8. Where on the card are the edges an 8? I mean, it looks like there's some surface stuff on here, but I don't know. Centering's a 10, surface is a 9.5, corners are a 9. I wonder if this would be a 9.5 if the edges were a 9. Curious. So I think this is about a $1,500-$1,600 card. Great card. Love that one. And then probably the biggest card of the collection. This is the Triumvirate. This is a 9.5. Not a quad 9.5. 1 half grade away from a true gem mint. So, but what a great card. You know, these die cuts, these, what are there's luminous, luminescent. What is this one? Yeah, I don't even know. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in these cards, these Triumvirate from Stadium Club. I know they're from Top Stadium Club, I think from 97. And I've got some in baseball cards as well, but yeah, this is a pretty big card. I think this is at least a couple grand. At least a big card for me. For some folks, a $2,000 card is very not big. Small. But yeah, so that's the lot. I think there are 26 cards in the lot. This is that Kobe again. I have to figure out what you guys think I should do with this. Should I crack this? I think PSA probably just hammer this. So I might just leave it in the SGC slab. I don't typically do SGC. But yeah, it looks great though. It looks good in the bow tie. I think it looks sharp. So maybe just keep it in that, see what happens. All right, well, that is the Michigan collection. And yeah, some big cards in there. This is not the biggest collection I've ever bought in terms of cost, but it's one of the bigger ones. Probably in the top 3 for me. I tend to not buy really big single cards and try and flip those. That's not really my lane right now. It might be someday, I suppose, but I really do like to buy these collections, whether they're raw or whether they're graded. Excuse me, I'm gonna turn this light off, and work to move those cards over a period of time. So it'll take some time to get the money back, but I think I'll do okay on that collection. And in the meantime, I've got a lot of stuff coming back from PSA that's from the South Dakota collection. So, that can help to subsidize the cost of buying the Michigan collection that I just showed you. A lot of the South Dakota, well, the entire South Dakota collection, at least for the 4 orders that are in the process of coming back from PSA, those cards were purchased at a really low price point. I think around 75 cents a card. So, this card here, which I showed in the reveal yesterday, I don't know exactly what this goes for. These PSA slabs are sweet. These new slabs are just amazing. Should probably get some of these PSA slabs from this Michigan collection, put in these new slabs. I think there's no comparing. I mean, they look exactly the same. They present the same. But this has got the 9-digit cert on it. This has got the 9-digit cert on it, but these are not in the same cases. This is a little bit nicer in my opinion. But like I was saying, if you can find some collections, source some cards for $1, 75 cents, $2, even $3 or $4, although $4 gets a little bit high. And the reason why I say that is because you're paying $20 for bulk. and $4 puts you at $24, $25. At $24.25, it's harder to sell on eBay because anything that's $30, you're going to pretty much come close to breaking even. If you can get to that $20 to $21 buy-in spot, you can sell a card for $30 and still make $5 to $7, $8. And you do 100 of those, that's $500, $600, $700, $800 that you can get on your return on investment. So, but yeah, I mean, if you can find cards for cheaper, you can use some of those cards to help subsidize purchases of graded cards. So for me, I really think of it as a multi-pronged approach where you are sourcing cards that are both raw, that you intend to do a couple things with. One, raw to grade. And I think if you can find 10 to 15 to 20% of a collection that is gradable, you're doing great. 10% on the low end, 20% on the high end, anything above 20%. If you buy 100 cards, 100 raw cards out of a collection, and you find 20 or more cards that are gradable, you're doing really, really well. Because PSA's standards are tight. They're really tough. And expect to get a fair amount of 9s, expect to get some 10s. But if you buy those 100 cards for $100, I mean, you're going to get some wins. All it takes is 110. Like RK said to me last week when I met with him, it only takes 110 to make that order work. And then, if you're looking at, $4 to $5 per card, it gets a little bit tougher. So, it's not only the percentage that you buy at, 80%, 75%, 90%, but it is the per card cost, especially when it relates to raw. But yeah, I mean, like this, I'll show one more, then I'll stop blabbing on because this is getting to be a really long video. But like I said, it's good to have variety of videos. Sometimes people really love these longer videos. This is probably a $250 card. I'm in for it for $20.75. So this sells for $250, $260, $270 and helps to pay for this, right? Which is harder to source this raw. Although this isn't exactly easy to source raw either. That's a rookie card and it's a golden touch. So, all right, folks. Well, be on the lookout for more videos. I've been pumping the content out here over the last week or so. Actually, over the last 3-4 weeks. I think this is my 4th or 5th video in 3 or 4 days. So appreciate you watching. And I'm starting to get a little bit tired. It's pretty early in the morning. I'll schedule this to go live, go public, probably around 4 o'clock this afternoon. So take care, bless, and peace out. One love.